Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner. We got Courtney Harkness in the building. All right, let's get you set up, man. How you doing?
What's going on, sir?
I'm good.
Good.
Long time.
I know, right?
We gotta talk. All right. So tell them who you are.
Courtney Harkness. I am the youth ministry director at Destiny Metropolitan Worship Church, Holy High, Club 412, Sunset.
Sunset.
Yeah.
We got a lot of Sunset people in here. All right, man. So let me illustrate the not issue. Okay, I'm gonna just put Ryan on blast.
Yes, sir.
All right, this was the conversation, and Jeremiah could
Yeah, me and Jeremiah did have this conversation. Yes.
This is what Lauren said. She said that a lot of the kids in Sunset, you tell me if I'm right, have decided not to date.
Yeah.
And do you want to say how you reacted to that?
No, you build it.
You want me to do it? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna react. I'm gonna react to it definitely. But I'm saying just keep building up the.
So basically, which I think is good because actually, one of the kids, I won't say his name. One of the kids actually told me this, just out the blue, because I had been talking to him about his relationship decisions last year, and he came up to me, he told me, you know what, for a year I'm not gonna date. And I was like, oh, good, that's good, you know. So it was interesting to hear what Ryan's reaction was to that. So now. The disagreement is should we encourage teenagers not to date?
Right.
Is that a bad thing to do? What do you think, Ryan?
I think it all comes down to who you are as a person. Like if it's the social character, you know. If people are not dating, if people are not going out and, you know, kind of just staying to themselves, you know, what sort of doors and windows are you opening up? You know, the idle mind. Sitting at home in front of a computer playing a video game. I just think that certain things need to be experienced. I think relationships are key. Now, when I say dating, I don't necessarily think that you're encouraging them to be like a boyfriend girlfriend type thing. I think what I'm talking about is social gatherings, going out, the prom, things like that. I think that was one of the discussions that we had, Jeremiah, right? Didn't one of your teenagers say that they did not want to go to prom? Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. She didn't want to. She was going to go to the prom, but she was going to go with friends, but they kind of a little think about going to the prom.
Right. Now, here's a question and I'm going to put me and Jeremiah were having a conversation, and we talked about our relationships with women now and how it might have been a little bit easier to approach women, be friends with women, if we hadn't had the mindset that we had coming into it, where it's like, okay, you know what? I have to wait until God says it's right. I have to wait until I get to the appropriate age of courtship or, you know, the dating age. And I was telling Lauren, I was like, well, I don't necessarily believe there's a dating age. You know, I know teenagers that mess it up, and I know teenagers that do it well. You know, they get into relationships, and, you know, their whole thing is we got adults looking at us, we got the eyes of younger kids looking at us, and we're going to do the right things because we're friends, and that's where it starts off. So, you know, we're staying friends until we feel that, you know, we're of age to marry or something like that. But it doesn't discourage them from dating one another, from what the adults are telling them. You don't need to do this, you don't need to do that, you know. And I've asked a young man, like, what is your opinion of that? And he says, well, it's because of my relationship with Christ. I'm mature in my walk with Christ to know what things I can and cannot handle. And then that's the same way that I look at things. I know the things that I can and can't handle as a man of God and being in the public eye. You know, I worked at a hip-hop radio station, went to a HBCU college for 5 years. So I know there were certain rules that I had to instill for myself, not to go too far, not to let people influence me. How do you feel with your teenagers that I guess the influence of what you're saying, how do you feel that will impact their lives, like not dating and things like that? Is there a structure behind it? Because that's what I want to know. Is there a structure to what you guys are teaching the kids about not dating and not, you know, going too far into a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship because you're not of age or you're not mature to handle it?
I think the first thing you have to understand is Well, the first thing is you got to define dating.
Okay.
Because the moment you toss the word dating out, then you get several different definitions that
Exactly.
are working in
Right.
people's minds. So I think it's important to establish what we're talking about when I say dating is not for teenagers. And I am specifically addressing boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. And
Okay.
it's the idea of the possessive labels.
Right.
I feel like is an incredible danger. It's an incredible risk to maintain that type of ownership, because the moment you start tossing those labels out, the labels come with expectations, whether they're spoken or not. The expectations are there. When you have somebody is your boyfriend or somebody is your girlfriend, you have an expectation in that relationship that you don't have in your other relationships.
Right.
And that's could be dangerous, because those expectations come with pressure.
Right.
And the pressure, you got to ask yourself, are you rooted enough in God's word to stand against that pressure?
Right.
And most teenagers aren't even considering, they aren't even thinking in that direction.
Right.
So when we take a stand against dating, we are specifically addressing boyfriend-girlfriend relationships labels. What we tell our kids is you need to exchange romantic relationships for healthy friendships. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to the movies, you shouldn't hang out, you shouldn't have a vital social life. I think that's important. I think it's key. But I think you need to focus on pursuing healthy friendships instead of romantic relationships.
Okay.
There are adults that can't handle all that comes with romantic relationships. So
Right.
you throw a teenager in the mix and they're overwhelmed, and we see it throughout the culture. You can talk about Chris Brown Rihanna situation.
Definitely.
That's a prime example
Exactly.
of how you start talking about waking up these desires, these emotions, which are all natural, but the Bible talks about don't excite love, don't stir it up before you're ready. And I would have to make the argument that teenagers just simply aren't ready.
This is a book I read when I was actually 17, called Boy Meets Girl. That kind of set it up for me. And the one thing he said, Joshua Harris is his name. He said that you shouldn't date until you are ready to be married within the next year or so. Because what is dating for, or courtship, or whatever you want to call it, you're really doing it to see if this person is your wife. So if you know you're not trying to get married for another 5, 6, 7 years, why are you dating them?
Right. Now that's what my concern was the definition of dating, because you do have to define it. It doesn't sound like you're discouraging anybody from a male-female relationship, friendship.
Not at all.
Friendship wise, because I think that's where I socially went wrong. Is that I grew up in an era where, of course, we all grew up in that same era, but Christianity wasn't popular in my high school, and being set aside and being different was the most pressure that could come against me, with my friends saying, "Oh man, you still a virgin? You're not dating? You don't have a girlfriend? Why not? And then it was always like, is this making me socially unavailable? Like, do people feel that they can come up and have conversation with me? Am I a personable person?" And I felt like as I got on in years and in college, I realized, no, I'm not. I can have good conversations, but I can't deal with relationships. I don't know what it's like to remove myself and not be so selfish, not be so self-centered and not even realize that I'm doing it. And I feel like part of that was because I put so much in the back of my mind that I never brought it to the forefront to say, you know what, I need to be more aware of when a young lady does that. And now my mom taught me the basics, pull a chair out, open a door, always be polite, say, excuse me or bless you, whatever. Those are the things I did learn. But as far as like a relational, as a male-female relationship, I'm not strong in that. And I have a best female friend now where it's hard for me in my mind to separate what these feelings should be, because I'm not used to relationship. So when I brought that conversation up to Jeremiah and Lauren, I was saying, but what if you're hindering the development process? Do you feel in any way that these kids are hindering?